guys and gals, what is going on? Jonny Middleton here. I'm back today for another video for y'all. And before I start this video, guys, I just like to say that it's April 5 today, and it's a bit of a sad day for alternative music fans, because obviously today marks the 20th anniversary of the passing of Kurt Cobain, who was the lead singer of Nirvana, a very influential band from that period. And also, it's 12 years today since Lynn Staley passed away as well, who was the former lead singer of another like really integral alternative rock band from that era known as Alice in Chains. And yeah, it's just unbelievable, like, you know, like how, you know, it's just strange how, like, you know, those guys have been away for so long, and especially Kurt Cobain, you know, the dude was a legend, you know, as a person on Facebook earlier, you know, it just had like a knack of, like, you know, like, writing really like simple and infectious melodies, you know, so easily, you know, and that talent just can't be replaced, you know. It's really unclear as to like how like the music scene today could like match up to, like, you know, Kurt Cobain's talents. You know, it's hard to imagine. And the same with Lynn Staley as well, you know, he had such an absolutely fantastic voice, you know. Him and Kurt were similar in that, you know, sort of had like this like, it's like singing through the gut sort of voice, like, sort of thing, because like Kurt had this like stomach problem too. You know, it's just like, it still hasn't sunk in, you know, those guys just aren't with us anymore, and you know, as huge fans of both those bands, you know, it's April 5 just like, I don't know, it's just a strange day for myself personally. But anyway, guys and gals, anyway, we've got good times to move on to good times again. You know, those dudes' memory will last in our hearts forever. R.I.P. And yeah, today, guys and gals, I've actually got another album review for y'all, which is the first time I've done one of these in a while. I believe the last one it was Led Zeppelin, part of the Led Zeppelin series. I'm still waiting on Led Zeppelin 2, by the way. So, but yeah, guys and gals, as you know, hopefully Alternative League will be starting next week with my cousin. And yeah, I thought this would be like a bit of like a prequel, if that's even a word, to Alternative League, and I'll be reviewing the album The Real Thing by Faith No More, guys and gals, which I've got situated here for y'all on the side of my desk. And yeah, this album was released it's the third studio album from Faith No More, but had like two previous albums before this one, albeit with a different singer. This is actually the first release where the most notorious Mike Patton first featured for the band, and yeah, it was released in 1989 on Slash Records, so it's really cool. Got a record label named after a very amazingly talented guitar player. So it was recorded between December 1988 and January 1989 at Studio D in Sausalito, which is in California, and it was produced by Matt Wallace, who had also overseen production on all of the band's release recordings up to this day. You know, sort of like that familiarity sort of thing going on there and stuff. And yeah, it was also like self-produced too, like with Faith No More. Reminds me of like what the band Tool did with their album 10,000 Days 2006, and got Joe Barresi in, and the band also produced them themselves. Whereas with their preceding albums, like David Bottrill, who produced them all, but that's another band. So again, like as aforementioned, like The Real Thing is the first studio album from Faith No More to feature their vocalist Mike Patton, who would stay throughout the whole course of the band's career from this point. And it was recruited from the American experimental band called Mr. Bungle. Yeah, that sort of sums Mike Patton up to a T. You know, it's got a very strange mind, shall I say, like lyrically, like, but I think in a really good way too. So it's a bit like on their succeeding album Angel Dust, which is sort of sums them up to a T. But yeah, it replaced previous singer Chuck Mosley, who had been fired by the band in 1988 due to erratic behaviour, both you know, in sessions and also like live too. Like, you know, there's one incident like at the release party for the band's 1987 album Introduce Yourself, where the dude sort of fell asleep on stage. So it's like, I've always wondered like how like a lead singer could like fall asleep on stage while like loud music playing, but nah, I guess that's just the way it was. So I can see why they fired him there, to be honest. So and yeah, the genres of music explored on this record. Yeah, Faith No More sort of took like a more like diverse direction with this release, I feel, because there's like elements of alternative rock, prog rock, heavy metal, funk metal, alternative metal, rap metal, hip hop, funk, jazz, and soul. So quite a lot of a plethora of genres going on here. And I'd also say there's a bit of groove metal in here. You know, I could definitely hear a bit of Pantera from time to time too. And yeah, as far as like, it's a massive increase in diversity in comparison to the band's previous work. So, and Faith No More are an American rock band. Well, sort of are/were. Seems like their status at the moment. It's sort of like, it's a bit unknown. Like you know, their bass player, Billy Gould, said that like new material may materialise, but other than like all of the members' like hearts are in the project, and whereas Mike Patton, their lead singer, has suggested like the band like won't remain active musically, but you know, it's just a case of like wait and see what happens in the meantime. So you know, and overall like the band's you know, sold like 25 million records worldwide, which, you know, is a phenomenal achievement, because Faith No More, like, in my opinion, is sort of like a cult, like, you know, like, band. Like, they don't have, like, the fan base like some other, like, alternative, like, rock bands from that scene, for instance. Yeah, as going back to, like, their, like, inception, like, they were formed in 1981, and the band were originally called Faith No Man, but they changed this, because they did. But yeah, like the band went their separate ways in 1998, but reformed in 2009, and that's where like these rumours of like, you know, it's like a full-time like thing of being like returning and things. And overall, guys, the real thing by Faith No More, this album I hold in my hands here, clocks in around 55 minutes in length, and it contains 11 tracks. And there's a bit of a differentiation thing going on here, because some of the albums I've looked at so far for y'all have been like, you know, primarily revolved around the conventional, you know, like rock setup, you know, sort of like guitar, bass, drums and vocals, whereas in this one we get like an incorporation of keys too, which is really cool. You know, it starts with the song called From Out of Nowhere, which is actually the first single released from this album in 1989, 2 months after in August 1989, like 2 months after the record had been released. And so yeah, it's From Out of Nowhere. It's definitely a great introductory song on this album, and you know, it doesn't showcase like, it's a bit like Led Zeppelin in many ways. You know, it doesn't showcase like every single element of the band, but it showcases enough to like draw you in. Like, you know, it clocks in around 3.5 minutes, which, you know, it's like average length in comparison to some of the other tracks on the album. And yeah, it starts with a very like energetic instrumental performance from the band, and this is where you first hear like the key sound. Like initially, like I wasn't really a fan of like the key sound, you know, but it sort of like grew on me in a way. You know, so I said like it's very synth infused or keyboardy, and Mike Patton's vocals come in, and you know, Mike Patton on this album like sung the very like high tone. You know, like obviously not as like say, like skillful as like say Bruce Dickinson for instance, but you know, his vocals like certainly match the style of music well in my opinion. And yeah, like there's a bit of you know, this song is diverse. You know, there are like changes in guitar riffs, and you know, sort of like, you know, it's like a repeating of certain passages in the song, but you know, there are some like diversity, and you know, even though there's not like too much diversity in the song, you know, what's played, like, you know, it repeats a bit as I've said, but you know, it's still like good enough to like retain like your attention. Well, it still retained my attention. So, and so yeah, and then From Out of Nowhere then leads into the song Epic, which was the big single from this album. It's got one of my most favourite music videos of all time. Like at the end, like this like piano, like the dude's playing it, and then like all explodes and stuff. It's like, this is just ace. You know, and Epic really showcases just like it's like this musical talent of the band. You know, it opens with like an epic guitar riff sort of thing. Like I try to do it's like a play on words sort of thing, like failed miserably. So you know, it's big and it's grandiose. And you know, it really draws you in. You know, and it's like we get like the emphasis like it's like on the bass. I think I've written some. Yeah, the bass gets like the emphasis after this part, with like the drums like getting their bit time to shine as well, which, you know, is sort of like a fundamental feature on this album too, because like you know, like all the instruments at times like really high up in the mix, you know, production wise, you know, and that's something, you know, really adds like the charm of the release in my opinion. And yeah, like the guitar returns like a mini chorus, and the thing is like there's also like diversity from Mike Patton here with the vocals, because you know, this is the first instance where I like utilises like rap style, because Mike Patton can like sing like on this album like in a standard register, a high pitched, also like rap style too. You know, and it's sort of an extended like guitar part as well, like later on in the song, where he'll sing like "What Is This?" I think, like, because before it was this one, it's like sort of like the Pantera groove like first raised its head in my opinion. You know, it's like a really nice riff from I think the guitar player's called James Martin or something, and yeah, like, initially like he'll play the riff, and then second time Mike Patton will say what is this? Sort of like, what is this? Or something, you know, that was a terrible impression, but yeah, it's sort of like Mike Patton does all that stuff, and, you know, it has, like, you know, it's a really good song, you know, it's so diverse, you know, in comparison with, like, From Out of Nowhere. You can see why this was, like, the big single from the album, so, and then we'll get to the track Falling to Pieces, guys. And I just realised I haven't mentioned the lyrical themes of the first two songs again. But yeah, From Out of Nowhere, the first song, is basically like about like someone who like walks into your life and like, you know, really, you know, like blows your socks off, so to speak, you know, like you really found like a nice connection there. And so, you know, it's unclear, however, like whether this person like makes like a lasting connection or not. You know, so like the wicked and twisted man of like Mike Patton like coming back to haunt all the listeners and stuff. So, and then Epic, the second song, which I've just covered, is basically like about how it's like a lot of people like don't understand like the meaning behind like Faith No More songs, and you know, it's sort of like cool to like interpret them like in your own way, I suppose, from time to time. And so then we get to track 3, guys and girls, which I got it to, called Falling to Pieces. And, you know, this is the song where like, you can really see, like, you know, this contains, like, some of my most favourite sort of, like, guitar work and also vocals on the song. Because Mike Patton's vocals, like, really stand out, you know, on this. And there is a song that sounds a lot like Korn. I don't know if this is the one, I don't think it is, but, you know, there's like, a lot of emphasis, like, playing, you know, on its own again, like showing how like the instruments at times could be like really high in the mix, you know, like production wise. And yeah, they'll get like the synth oriented sound from out of nowhere. And yeah, again, there's like something that appears like prevalently on this release, like, you know, there are like repeats of like certain parts. But you know, I guess like, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing later on. There's like an instance where like there's a bit of like a song repeated and extended, but that's like later on in the album. So. And yeah, the Mike Patton's vocals in this song, you know, really complete it. Like, you know, I think it's like the chorus or something. You know, I just listen and I just think this is like, you know, really good. You know, Falling to Pieces is, you know, it's really awesome song. And you know, again, like sums up like Mike Patton's sort of like lyrical themes. Well, it's sort of like, you know, it's about like you know, something I can sort of relate to on like a personal basis. It's about how like everything's like going okay, but like sometimes how like your inner demons can like, you know, portray things negatively. It's just a case of like, you know, sort of like dealing with that and, you know, just trying your best to sort of like, you know, see like the sunshine through the rain, I suppose. And yeah, then we get to track 4, guys, which is called Surprise You're Dead, which is where the album sort of like takes like a change and so like adds like diversity like musically. Because like Surprise You're Dead like shows more like a more 80s like thrash metal style. You know, I think this song's been covered by like some death metal bands as well. And so yeah, it's shorter than the first 3 songs. And you know, I do like this song, but it's not one of my most favourite songs from the album. And you know, it's really aggressive, really fast. Like you get Mike Patton like shouting a lot more, you know, with this song. And in comparison to the 3, but that's, you know, it sort of like fits the style of music because it's like heavier, it's thrashier, you know, it's more in your face, I suppose. And you know, that's where like the more groove metal, you know, comes in. You know, it's sort of like a feature of 90s was like, you know, like aggression, you know, musically, like with all forms of like all genres, I suppose. And basically, like, this song's about like, you know, like the life cycle, I suppose, like how we all like kill animals for meat and stuff. And yeah. Like it's not one of the standout songs for the album, but it's certainly good for like adding diversity to the release. Like, you know, like, incorporating like, you know, more heavier material, you know, so like composites like appeal to more people, I suppose. And then guys get to track 5, which is called Zombie Eaters. This actually starts like a really beautiful like acoustic guitar part, which reminds me a lot of Fade to Black by Metallica from their 1984 second studio album called Ride the Lightning. And yeah, I actually learned like the opening riff to this yesterday. And yeah, the notes are like the same, or very similar to how Fade to Black, but you know, it's like more like played more quickly, I suppose. And yeah, the thing is, like, this is a great element of like the band, like, because sometimes you get songs on this album where like the start of like slow and like building to a crescendo, like, you know, an explosion of like sound. You know, the guitars like switch from being like acoustics, like, you know, distorted, and like the trademark sound on this album, which, you know, is, you can like detect it if you hear like there are like remnants throughout that could like suggest like the main sound of the album. And yeah, like Billy Goul's bass, you know, it really stands out again on this song. And you know, like Mike Patton's vocals like return to like the more traditional style, which has been like associated with like the first 3 songs, for instance. And yeah, like you know, as I said, like it's good for diversity, like how the song like builds to like a crescendo, and like there's also like remnants from the previous song too, because like later on in the song, like, the guitars like get thrashier once again, and but actually I think the guitars, like the heaviest sound from James Martin, like it sounds better than what it does on Surprise You're Dead. You know, it's a very, very cool song. Like, I'd say it's just as diverse as Epic. You know, it's certainly as long, like, lengthwise as that song. And, yeah, like, this is cool. Like, the acoustic guitar and a more, like, subtle vocal tone from Mike Patton. And that's what I really enjoy in music when, like, you don't go, like, OTT on, like, the vocals. So, like, there's more, like, a soothing guitar part. I can, like, 1,000 Suns by Linkin Park, you know, Chester Bennington just doesn't really know what he's doing on an album, in my opinion. But, anyway, that's another story, so... There's basically like this is traditional like Mike Patton again in that it's like the song Zombie Eaters is basically like about a baby basically. So they'll get to the real thing, guys, the title track from the album, which is track 6, and this is actually where you know the repetition I was talking about earlier, so like rears its like head again, because like there are a lot of comparisons in this song, you know, like riffs and like melody wise to the track 2 Epic. You know, I'd feel like the real thing is sort of like an extension of that song. Like, you know, it's you know, it's contains like the traditional sound of this album, but you know, it's just really repetitive. But you know, the thing is with this song, you know, it's kind of like Epic, but you know, there are traces of like more like subtle sound which are being explored in like the previous song, like Zombie Eaters, for instance. And you know, it's like. You know, as I said, like, the thing is, like, this album, like, the main sound, you know, it's something that I find, like, to be, like, really tolerable, and I like, really enjoy it, and stuff, so, you know, and, like, there's some more, you know, it's basically, like, a combination, I'd say, like, the real thing, the song is, like, basically, like, a combination of, like, everything you've explored so far, because there's, like, some more, like, use of, like, Mike Patton's, like, aggressive vocal tone, you know, which have been explored in track 4, Surprise You're Dead. You know, it's, as I said, like, you know, it's basically like, you know, a bit of a repetitive song, but you know, the thing is, like, as I've said, like the album, like general gist sound album wise is just, I really enjoy it. So it's basically like about a spiritual experience, which, you know, is a really cool thing to talk about. So, and then guys get to track 7, which is called Underwater Love, which you know, it doesn't it's all like, yeah, like you get like the more, you know, like the focus, this is actually like a good example of the band like being diverse again, because it's like elements of like funk in this song, like, you know, from Red Hot Chili Peppers style or something. You know, like the song explores like familiar territory. It's also like a trail part on the guitar in this song, which basically like you play a note and you like do like hammer-ons and pull-offs like on that note. And that's certainly diverse because something that's not being like really, you know, like utilised this far on this release. You know, like you get like more like Mike Patton's like heightened vocals again, as well as his more like subtle tone. You know, it's sort of like, and like the drums, yeah, like the drums and the keys from the drummer called Mike Puffy Borden, and the keys from like Ronnie Bottom, I think, or something. You know, it's like it slams different guitar sounds. So like Underwater Love is like, it's not one of the strongest songs on the album, but you know, it contains like everything that's like been explored thus far with this release, I feel. You know, it's basically like it's typical Mike Patton again, like lyric wise, and it's about like a guy falling in love with a mermaid, so, you know, king of the sea and all that good stuff. And then guys, we also get to track 8, which is called Good Morning After, which is not a reference to What You May Think. So, and again, like it's sort of like, it's like the traditional like sound explored in this album, and again, like, you know, with these songs where it's like the band like treads familiar territory, you know, I don't feel it like really sort of like hinders the flow, because like the thing about this album is it's got like a great flow, like, you know, the songs like seed from like one another, like, you know, really sweetly, I suppose, and yeah, like get like, this is cool because like The Morning After has like a bit of a diversity, and it's got like a more like gangy style from Mike Patton, which is something they've not really explored in this vocal range thus far in this release. So, you know, that was certainly very cool. And there's also like a bit of yeah, like a bit of like an operatic touch, you know. So you get like a sort of like symphonic feel at times with like this song. And yeah, like as I said, like it doesn't like really add anything new to the album, but like the little changes here and there like prevent the song from being like filler material, I suppose. You know, like it doesn't, like, you know, as I said, like the general sound of the sound like doesn't really bore me, and I find it like really entertaining. So, you know, it's about how a person could like become so jaded that they just like don't care anymore, but retain their sanity as they're like still able to love. So it's basically about like how someone could be like going through like good times. It's like dealing with like the demons in your head or something, and you know, like trying to figure those out, so like defeat them, I suppose. Which, you know, it's certainly, you know, something. It's good for like opening your eyes to, I suppose. And then guys get to track 9, it's called Woodpecker from Mars. It's basically like the instrumental song on the album. Like, I can see why like the band would include like an instrumental song on this release, because you know, altogether like we all like the instrumentation, you know, like being really like being like really high in the mix. You know, like the combination like members on this album, you know, certainly have like a great chemistry, you know, like music wise, and you know, it's really like good to see like just how like good the band can sound without like Mike Patton like on vocals. I mean, like Mike Patton does have like an extra element to the band, you know, but it's cool to like, you know, like the other crew members like have their time to shine. And apparently there's like a story behind this song too, because when Mike Patton joined the band, like all the music had been written for this album, but there'd been no vocals, and it's really unclear like whether Mike Patton decided to just like think screw it, I'll just let the band do their thing, or just like couldn't think of any vocals for the song. It could be any. I mean, you know, it's good like for the band to like really showcase, you know, what they're all about and stuff. And then guys, we'll get to a cover song, strangely enough, which is a cover of the song War Pigs by Black Sabbath, which is from their 1970 second studio album Paranoid, and is one of their biggest songs. And you know, it's something I really enjoy. You know, Black Sabbath are just ace, you know. And yeah, so like Faith No More like put their spin on it. You know, these guys like do a really like good job of like, you know, incorporating like general sound. You know, sort of like cover like the spine of the song, I suppose. You know, like, I do dig Mike Patton's vocals, you know, at times, you know, throughout certain verses, I suppose. But, you know, it's sometimes, like, his vocals sound a little strange, like, you know, I don't mean to, like, offend him or, you know, offend any fans of this song, but sometimes his vocals sound a bit gayish. You know, that's a bit unprofessional of me to say, but, you know, if like, you listen to the song, like, you sort of, like, get that, like, feeling from it, it's strange. But, you know, overall, it's a great cover song. So it's a very nice tribute, you know, to one of the most like influential, you know, British hard rock bands of all time in Black Sabbath. So, you know, it's still like a nice surprise for like, you know, like I'm sure like a lot of like Faith No More fans will be Sabbath fans. So, you know, when they picked this album, saw War Pigs on it, you know, they'll probably like at first thinking, have they just named a song after the song, or is this like a direct cover? And when they found out it was a direct cover, they're probably thinking, nice touch. Although some people may be against it, but, you know, I think it's a cool touch, you know. You know, it doesn't really, I say it does kind of affect the flow in a way, you know, because Black Sabbath are obviously like a completely different beast to Faith No More. You know, their sound is like a lot darker, but, you know, it's again, it's just like a nice little tribute, and if the band wants to include like such thing, then it's cool. So, and then guys get to Edge of the World, which is where like the band, like, you know, it really like shows like air of unpredictability, because like this is like very like a very pop oriented song. Like yeah, I start like get like a George Michael vibe from this, which is strange. You know, this is where like sort of like the jazzy like soul you know, influence come in. And the thing is, like, Mike Patton, you know, is a really talented vocalist, because like although he's been singing on all these like you know, it's like really heavier songs. You know, when he like you know, utilizes like more smoother material, you know, it fits in perfectly. You know, it's great. You know, Edge of the World, again, it's a very pleasant surprise. You know, and that's like a fundamental feature of Mike Patton. Like air of surprise, you just never know what's coming next with that dude. So, yeah, it's a great way to end the album. Like, some people may be like, it's a bit soft to end the album, but, you know, I think it's a great touch. Like, you know, I've got an appreciation, you know, for sort of like that, like, pop music, well, good pop music, you know, your George Michael and your Michael Jackson, for instance, I suppose. You know, I think it's like, it's cool to like end the album like something people wouldn't expect, you know. Yeah, so overall, guys and gals, I'd say, like, you know, the real thing is a great release from Faith No More. You know, there's like the inclusion of new vocalist Mike Patton just like enhanced their sound, you know, and didn't really like hinder it in any way, like, you know, sort of like, you know, like stepping up from where Chuck Mosley had been. So it's not like, you know, take like the band to the next level, which is, you know, sometimes like a new member can do. But obviously, like, when you get like a new vocalist, it's obviously going to like change the sound, because like it's a different voice. You know, so many examples, like Alice in Chains, for instance, you know, is like the big one for me. And yeah, it's like, and there's also like the level of diversity, like, you know, in terms of like the different guitar parts, like allowing like all the instruments to shine, like all the heavier music on like the song Surprise You're Dead, as well as like, you know, the keys, you know, like the more jazz soul infused Edge of the World, you know, it's, as well as, you know, like the really, you know, like the cool like instrumental song like Woodpecker from Mars, for instance, as well as like the song Epic, which, you know, some songs to a T because it is an epic song. And yeah, the thing is, like, with the real thing, like, are they like essentially like just extended epic? Like, you know, I put like songs epic and the real thing like together, so like an A side, well, actually a double A side, I'd say. So yeah, like the repetitive nature of that track could be a bit restricting, but you know, I still think that song sounds great. So you know, Mike Patton's like use of diversity, so it's like it's like different vocal styles too. You know, like it's ranged from like his standard tone to like his heightened register, his rap style. You know, it's all complements like adds to the diversity of the album. Like, even though I'm not really a fan of like his rap style from time to time, you know, it sort of like fits in like that groove metal vibe. You know, sort of like your Pantera Machine Head sort of feels to it. Although not as heavy as Machine Head, but you know, yeah, I do get like that like street like gangy vibe from certain parts of this album, I guess. So. You know, and it's like there's a good like mix of like more simplistic material, you know, because songs like, you know, from like Faith No More, from Out of Nowhere, for instance, as well as you know, like the songs in the middle of the album, such as like not the real thing, The Morning After and Underwater Love, for instance, like track 7 and 8. You know, those like, it's cool, like, you know, you got like just enough like to keep everyone engaged. You know, you got stuff like, you know, it's not too complex, stuff that's more like accessible and straightforward. You know, it's great. There's like some great riffs too, like, you know, and all of our instruments getting the time to shine, as I've mentioned before. You know, like different melodies throughout. You know, it certainly has like something extra to the album. You know, and that's like a fundamental feature. You know, as I've said like before, guys, like what makes like a good album like great. You know, it incorporates like loads of different elements of like diversity. You know, like giving like all the band members the time to shine, like all the like not drowning each other out, be like, you know, really good production wise, and you know, that's why I praise Matt Wallace for like, you know, the really good like production style, you know, like getting like all the instruments like high in the mix, getting on like the band members time to shine. You know, it has to make this, you know, album revered as like it's classic status amongst like fans. So overall, guys, I'll give this album a good solid, well, actually a very solid 9 out of 10 score. You know, it's overall it's fantastic. Like the general sound, it's really good. You know, it's sort of like dark. You know, it really does like sum up the word alternative in my opinion. And but I'm just not really a fan of like Mike Patton's like rapped vocal parts at times. But you know, that's just me. I can understand why like a lot of people would enjoy those parts. You know, but as I said, like everything else sounds great to my ears. And the personnel on this album, guys, consists of Mike Buffy Borden on drums. We've got Roddy Bottum on keyboards, Bill Gould on bass guitar, James Martin on guitars, and Mike Patton on vocals. And if we move on to the artwork, guys, we'll see we get Jeff Price and Terry Robertson were responsible for like the artwork and CD design for this album. And there's actually 2 different cover versions of this like album. Like on the vinyl version, it's sort of like expanded the artwork, and you know, as when I get to sort of show you guys like the inside of the CD, you know, we'll get to see like eventually like the full vinyl artwork for the album. And yeah, the CD artwork appears to depict something like a fire being lit underwater. You know, like it's still like a classic like rock cover, you know, for people who have been into the genre for a while or have checked out this band before. So, you know, it could be a reference to the song Underwater Love, but that's probably like just a wild suggestion. So, you know, and like the back cover like depicts the track listing and like some more of like the vinyl artwork. I get like a feel for like the Houses of the Holy by Led Zeppelin from this artwork too. Especially on the back, I don't know why, it just had like the sun and the clouds, which are a prevalent feature of the album's artwork. So, you know, and so I get like the track listing written in green as well. If we open the CD up, guys, we also see the disc, which is basically silver. It says Faith No More, the real thing. And the thing is about this album, I don't actually own the original. You know, the album originally came out in 1989. I bought this from HMV. I think this is like the 2002 reissue of the album. I don't think it's been remastered, but I know like this album like was reissued in 2002. I think this is the record I own. So, but what can you do? And as like I said, like on the disc, see like the silver thing that says Faith No More, the real thing, and then we see pictures of the band on the side. If we take the booklet out for y'all, we can see some more inside, I suppose. yeah, so I've sort of took this artwork to screw the miller, I suppose. And then we'll see like if this time see all the lyrics guys are to the song. So if any of y'all pick up this album and decide to sing along, then they got lyrics in here for you to do that. So on the back we'll see like additional thanks. In fact, that's on that side too, I suppose. You know, then we'll see like the track listing again, like written in green. That's why like sort of like the vinyl artwork is like completed, and you know it's really cool. Like how like despite all of the like you know, like how the band like didn't include like all the vinyl artwork, you can still get it in total. And we see like pictures of the band again and the artwork. So guys, I think that just sums up my review of Faith No More's A Real Thing. Hope you've all enjoyed it, and until next time, I've been Jonny Middleton. As always, stay safe, stay strong, and I shall see y'all in the future forever.